Can you just synopsize about your kind of journey and what you're doing now, what you're doing in the community now?
Yeah. Well, my background's in criminal justice. I was a police officer for 27 years. I joined the police when I was 22. And the reason I joined the police was because I saw two female police officers coming out of a bakery one day, and it was a hot sunny day in July, and they were laughing. And I was on a bus coming home from work on a Friday afternoon, and I thought, I can do that. I can laugh for a living. So me and my friend, we used to, can you remember the Evening Chronicle used to have a jobs section on a Thursday night? So we used to look at the jobs section and go, oh, that looks interesting, just for the cheek of it, and apply for jobs, just to see what it was. Like, I applied for a job in a biscuit factory on the Team Valley one time, and I actually got an interview and got the job.
What, just because you
Just because I wanted to have a look inside the biscuit factory, because I wanted to see how they put, those finger biscuits with the chocolate on the ends. I was like, how do they do that?
Yeah.
So I applied for a job. But that particular week when I'd seen these two policewomen, and I do know them now, because I ended up being posted to that police station as well. But I was like, I can laugh for a living, I can definitely do that. And on that following Thursday, Northumbria Police put an advert in the paper. And I applied. And then within a year I was in.
It's not something you kind of put two and two together as, I want to laugh for a living and police officer. It's not the two things.
No, but they were laughing. They were coming. It was a sunny day. They were coming out of the bakery. They had like shed loads of bait. And they're obviously going back to the Nick for the shift. And they just looked like they were having such a lovely time. And I have no history in my family of policing. I'd never been in a police station. I don't think I'd ever spoken to a police officer. The only time I'd had contact with the police was when I was very young, and my brother, my uncle had a milk round, and my brothers used to collect milk money on the Friday night. And one night, my youngest brother was 16 at the time, and a man stepped out from behind a wall with a knife and tried to rob my brother, 16-year-old, and he's teeny. He's not much taller than me, actually. And he's, my brothers are lovely, and his initial reaction was, it's not my money. So we kicked the guy, and he was a man. He kicked him in the balls. And then as he went down, he kicked him in the chest. And then as he went further down, he kicked him in the face and ran away. And then the police came. And so my only experience of police officers was, so that would have been early 80s. And like the Sweeney type detectives turning up in big coats, like Max, and questioning my brother, who was past himself because he knew this guy was really injured. But he pulled a knife on him when he was a bairn, And that's the only time I'd ever encountered police officers. So when I saw those two policewomen laughing, and they did have a laugh, like we did have a laugh. I mean, because you have to balance the books of your brain, don't you?
It is balancing the books of the brain, because I've always thought, I've kind of worked with police officers, and I've followed them around on like just day pursuits, sort of taking photographs of what they do and activity in the area. And their day-to-day is, majority of it is knowing the wrong people. And your job is to know the majority of the wrong people and see the worst of society on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That must be quite a hard thing to do every day.
Well, I think it is, but also you have to recognise that it's a privilege, because you have these phenomenal powers that they give you, and that's a privilege. And you see people at the worst of the time in their lives, and it doesn't matter if that person has done something wrong, it's still a stressful situation for that person. And you deal with them as a human, because people are doing the things they're doing for lots of different reasons.
Of course.
And some people are just bad. You just have to accept, like, some people are just nasty people. Because the question is, why do they do that? Well, the answer is, some people are just bad people. And, you have to go with their flow while you're working. And you get paid for doing it, do you know what I mean? And it is a privilege for me. It is a privilege to be able to walk into somebody's house and take their liberty on suspicion. You can literally take them out of their own home.
Yeah.
And you should never, ever take advantage of that.
There's a power in that.
Totally, yeah.
There's a power in that, and that could be taken advantage of as well.
100%. And I think sometimes it is.
Yeah, but I think that's what people see from a police side of things was just that. They do see the wrong side of things. If you've been on the wrong side of the law kind of thing, as we see it, you do look at them in a different light. Do you know what I mean? You see them as, oh God, there's going to be trouble straight away, you know?
Well, you know, if a cop knocked on my door, my immediate reaction would be, who's died? Mm-hmm. And you know, because I've actually had to do that, but that's part and parcel of the job. But it's a brilliant job to do, as long as you do it properly.
Yeah, and obviously you're joining so young. Are you a fixer? Did you always want to fix? Was there a shift in mindset after being a part of the police force?
I think I'm a problem solver by nature, but I can't be bored. I think boredom is my nemesis, and if I'm bored, I get up to mischief. And you can't be bored if you're in the police. It's an impossible thing. And I don't understand people who get bored. Like, I can't ever be bored. I'm always doing something. So problem solving, yeah. Fixer, not so much. I think that's down to the individual. You have to let people do their thing.
Yeah, I think there's a stress in that. There's a pressure in. People want to be a police officer to put the bad guys away and help the good and do all of this thing. I think you're going to drive yourself insane, and I think there's going to be some kind of real sort of mental imbalance, and you're going to take it to heart. I think there's an acceptance of letting it go, and you can't fix everybody. It's a management thing, but it's a constant management thing. You're going to see the same people for years and years and years doing the same stuff all the time, saying the same things constantly, right?
Yeah. But
you can't fix people.
No. And you have to accept that, and you just have to hope they find a path.
As a kid, we had a police officer 2 doors up for me. And as a teenager, I quite fancied the idea of being a policeman. Do you know what I mean? I thought that'd be a good job. And I talked to him, and he was always on the beat police officer, and he said, it's not what you think it is. He says, you have to understand that I'm seeing, like I said, the wrong side of society every day, but you have to befriend these people. You have to understand and know these people, almost like friends in a way, because you need to gather information, and information is the key on the street. And that always stuck with me, because it's not just what you see on the TV. It's a different thing. It's a completely different thing. It's almost like you're the good person being put in the whole bad scenario, bad situation, and people are gonna see you as the bad person in their area, and you've got to win them over. That's impossible, isn't it? It really is hard. It's
hard, but it's not impossible, because you have to have mutual respect. If you're going to take somebody's liberty, and the best example I can give you is like a proper burglar, a proper criminal, for example, a burglar, won't kick off and fight with you. They just don't, because they're professionals. But you get somebody else who's a knob. Oh, also, drawing that back again, sometimes people are so stressed off they kick off.
Mm-hmm. It's a pressure cooker of life, isn't it?
Yeah. So somebody broke my shoulder when I was detaining them. They'd assaulted somebody, and this guy was in his 50s. And I was like, it didn't occur to me that he would kick off. And I remember being on the ground, because once I touch somebody, I'm never going to let go. It's like, not going to happen. And I remember being on the ground with him, face down. He's face down. I've got this shoulder's out, down on the ground, and thinking, one, I'd had my nails done the previous day, and I was like, if I've broken a nail, I'm going to be so pissed off. And two, who knew that a man wearing a hand-knit Aran sweater would kick off? And that's what went through my mind, because I think as a police officer, you encounter things that are sometimes so bizarre. Your thoughts are like, what? I don't think most people would have the thoughts that I've had sometimes. And I just wasn't expecting that at all. It kind of took me by surprise. Yeah. But professionals tend to be professional, whatever profession they're in.
Yeah.
Even that's on the wrong side of the current law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I suppose it takes an intelligence. Sometimes you see like high-end, very successful criminals, you go, if you put all this energy into another thing,
Absolutely,
you'd be
100%.
successful in that
You'd
as
be
well.
successful
you
in
know?
that, yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
that's it, because it takes ambition, it takes
Totally, yeah.
drive, determination, and graft.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It is. It's really complicated. It's a complicated profession, and you have to think about what you're doing. And if they focus that into good, but maybe they just don't know. If you don't know what you don't know, then you don't know, do you?
But you don't, right? Because you're kind of raised you're raised in a certain society, and you don't choose how you're raised. You don't choose who you're born into or where you're born into. So you've just got to make the best of the situation you're born into, you know. And a lot of that it's just circumstance, isn't it, or happenstance, or whatever you want to call it.
I remember arresting, having calls in the middle of the night where there was a burglary ongoing, and it was a burglary school. It was a man who was a burglar with 2 teenage lads teaching them how to burgle, and that's quite common. It's a skill. It's a skill set that they pass on.
Yeah.
And if that's the profession they know, it's like, and I know, yes, it's wrong, but it's like your plumber teaches, you know, has apprentices, your painter and decorator, they have apprentices, burglars have apprentices.
Yeah. So do the police have apprentices, that kind of thing? You're working under somebody, or?
Well, when you go into the police, you're 2 years, you're on probation. Well, I don't even know what the system is now. You go in and get a degree and leave by the sounds of things. But when I joined, you had to do 2 years. And in any time in that 2 years, you had to achieve certain things, and they could sack you at any time. So really, you were an apprentice for 2 years. But I can honestly remember the moment when I knew what I was doing, and I had 5 years in. And I walked into the parade room at Gateshead Police Station, and the radio dispatcher, because I'm in uniform, radio dispatcher says, anybody available for a job in whichever area? And in that moment, I thought, it doesn't matter what that job is, I will be able to handle it. But I had 5 years in, because your job is so, in uniform, your job is so diverse. You're hitting different things all the time, and different people, even in the same circumstances. It's different every time. So you have to learn to think on your feet and be quite holistic in your approach. But it took me 5 years.
Yeah, it's quite a long time.
And a lot of cops don't stay for 5 years now.
Why is that?
Because they get a free degree. I'm not going to quote, but I was doing some training in the Yorkshire area a couple of weeks ago, and I spoke to a chief inspector, and she said the average age of her police officers is 24, and they get a degree for free, then they leave. Because they've got a free degree, they've got no student finance to pay.
But it's quite a long way around just to get a degree, because you've already got a job.
But you've got a degree, you could probably get a better job, because the police pay now isn't great.
So it's still not great?
It's not great now. It's gone down and down. I mean, when I joined, it was just after the Edmund Davies report, which was in the 80s, and the pay went up quite substantially. And every year, I think for about the first 3 years of my service, we got a 10% increase to get the police up to a certain standard. I mean, back then we had to ask permission for where we wanted to live. So you had to have a certain standard if you were going to make your cops live in certain areas and not in other areas. So you had to pay them. But I don't think that happens now. I mean, I know police officers who live on estates where I know in the 90s I would not have been allowed to live.
And why is that?
Different neighbours. So there's white-collar crime and blue-collar crime, isn't there? And you're not allowed to live in a blue-collar crime, but you can live in a white-collar crime area.
Really?
Well, yeah, I guess that's the one way of putting it, yeah.
What's the blue collar?
Burglars, shoplifters, thieves.
What's white collar?
Accountants who steal from their companies. People like that.
Yeah. There's many multitudes of different crimes, isn't there? Why is one framed as better than the other? Because
there's a disproportionate pressure on people from lower incomes, and you get punished more if you're poor.
You do. And I mean, this crime's happening under our nose. I mean, as you say, we've seen it on the telly and nothing gets done about it. Even people in high-end jobs, we kind of stamp our feet and point the finger and nothing gets done about it. And it just gets brushed under the carpet.
I don't know why we're not more outraged, really. I don't know why we're not marching more and kicking off more. And, you know, we're in a country now where you can't peacefully protest without getting arrested. We saw that last week. People protesting against the war or the murders in Gaza and Palestine, and they get arrested for sitting on a bench with a placard saying, "I protest the acts of the Israeli government, army," and you get locked up. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's not fair, is it? Plus also, if there's pressure in society, then where's it going to go? It's got to go somewhere. And where does that anger go if you're not allowed to do this? And no wonder there's a divide. There's a bigger divide, I think, than anywhere else.
Yeah.
Especially within the class system. And this country is a class system. It
Totally.
still is a class system.
Yeah. But then you've got the very, very wealthy and then everybody else, haven't you? I don't understand billionaires. I don't understand the mindset of a billionaire who would remain a billionaire, because I couldn't do that. I can't see the point of sitting on your diamonds and your jewels, because that doesn't support the economy in any way. It doesn't support the communities around you. And it must be very isolating if you've only got like however many, if you're only hanging out with billionaires, right? The chances of you meeting somebody who's very intelligent is like significantly reduced, isn't it? Because you've got a smaller and smaller pond of very wealthy people. And it's just, to me, I just don't understand extreme wealth. And if I had it, I would have to do something with it. I wouldn't buy a yacht, let alone 3 yachts.
Yeah, I don't want to get into government, because that's where we'll end up being. I mean, I was on a podcast the other day talking about Rishi Sunak's worth like £700 million. How can you run a country and understand society and people's needs when you've got that much money in the bank? It's a complete detachment.
How much is a loaf of bread? People don't know. People like that don't know, because they have people. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have people, because he'll employ people as staff. But you need to go shopping in Tesco's, and you need to understand if your minimum wage is this, how much that'll get you. You need to understand that in an economy. If you're trying to run an economy, you can't do a job if you don't know what the job is.
Yeah, because where are you going to get your information from? Your driver, you know? That's probably where you're going to get it from.
His driver's probably on 60 grand a year. So he's still outside of the... You know, that's still a lot of money. 60 grand a year is a big wage. The problem we have in this country is the people on £15 an hour have been told that the people on £10 an hour are the problem. And it's the whole patriarchal divide and conquer strategy, isn't it? If they keep us all fighting down here, they can crack on with whatever they want to do up there.
Yeah, I kind of liken it to, it's keeping the chimps busy.
100%. Yeah. While we're distracted, trying to survive, they get on with whatever the hell they want to do.
And you know what it is? I'll tell you what, Ray, right? You get called a bloody conspiracy theorist when you bring this stuff up, right? But It's true. I think it is true. It's just, it's a common sense thing, and you just see it. You step back and go, what's wrong with this picture? Do you know what I mean? And you just go, that seems like that's a thing. And you go, surely it can't be. I think it is, because
it is.
If you're sitting talking and to like-minded folk, and you're all just having a normal conversation, you're not ranting, you're not on your high horse, you're not kind of, your blood pressure's not up, you're just sitting going, I just see it in front of us, and this seems to be what's happening. But if you speak out, you're branded a lunatic for doing that.
I don't mind being branded a lunatic. I'll take that. I'll take it, because it is a divide and conquer strategy. Isolation is a strategy, and it's happening. You can see it. These estates where people are fighting with each other, because what they do is they pick on one marginalised community, and all the hate goes on them. And then if you're involved in doing that, if you're sucked in, if you're manipulated, and people don't like to admit they've been manipulated because ego gets in the way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But if you're manipulated and you're like, oh, anti this, anti this, anti this, you're actually helping them, the masters, because it's a divide and conquer. What you should do is all come together and all be going, look, you need to be accountable for what you do because we voted you in or not. I mean, there's an area in North Shields where they're voting, only 14% of people voted. 14%, because those people, we went around knocking on doors, but because the rest of them, they just feel like, what's the point? I've got no power. Nothing changes. It doesn't matter which party's in government. Nothing changes for me and my family. And they're right. And that's because we're put in the little silos where we're fighting against each other instead of coming together and fighting the system. Because the system is not set up to help. It's set up to suppress, to keep us shut up.
You know, when you think like, am I thinking differently to other people? Is it me? And then you talk to the likes of people like yourself and go, there's lots of us out there, hang on, this is the majority of people. Because now we're talking, and now because of the internet, there's more of a platform for people to express themselves, you know what I mean? So I think that's a good thing in a way, because the people have a voice now.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to share that voice. But again, is that dividing more? Everyone seems to be picking teams. I hate teams. I like just floating in the middle. I agree with the left, I agree with the right. I'll sit in the middle somewhere. I'll sit in the world of gut feeling and common sense.
Gut feeling's a big one for me.
But gut feeling, that can really help you out sometimes.
Yeah, totally.
And as a police officer, that must have helped you out sometimes. How many times does that help you out?
All
What's
the time.
the instinct thing?
All the time. Because you've got three brains. You've got your brain, you've got your heart, and you've got your gut. This one in me, she's crazy. This one, I can't trust her. I've been married 3 times. This one, I trust her implicitly. I always listen to my gut, and I always encourage people to listen to their gut because it's the one that kicks in first. So right at the beginning, when you encounter something, you get that feeling. You think, oh, that's there for a reason. It might be a good reason, it might not be, but there's a reason behind it. So you should always think about how you physically respond to situations.
I don't think we give it room though. We don't give it room to respond or listen to it.
We're being told not to. We're being trained to ignore it. And the reason for that is because it's powerful, and people in power don't want us to be powerful. They want us to make decisions based on how we're going to pay the rent and how we're going to put shoes on the kids' feet in August on the way back to school in September. So we're very driven by that. So it has to be, I need to go to work, I need to do this, but I hate my job. But I have to do it because I have to put shoes on the kids.
Mm-hmm. It's a circle, isn't it? Keeps going round and
round. It keeps coming round and round. And a lot of people live the same year over and over and over again. And that's fine for them.
So your mindset now, has this changed from you being young, starting in the police, to now? Has your mindset changed from seeing things, from seeing how the world operates, from seeing kind of government? What's influenced your opinion now? Has it changed over the years?
It's changed.
Massively.
Definitely. Because when I went in, I was 22, I was green as grass. I had no idea. I didn't realise. One of the first jobs I went to was the post office got the window kicked in. They were burgling the post office, right? And I was still with my tutor constable, so I must have had like minutes of service. Like I was still with my tutor. And it didn't occur to me that they'd run away. Didn't occur to me. They ran away when they saw the police car. And I was like, what are they doing? She's like, they're running away. I'm like, really? And that was like, hadn't occurred at all. And I was like, so green. But like, I learned fast. But also you get into situations where you go for one reason but you end up being there for another. So it changes depending on what the job is. But I have changed. I'm a lot more, I think, because people are in circumstances that are sometimes out of their control, and I'm a lot more easygoing than I was. Like I was like that at the beginning, like, that is wrong, the law says. But I knew nothing. I was brought in a very kind of cocooned family, and I didn't really know anything. But I learned very quickly.
You have to. You've got no choice, have you?
No, otherwise you'd be killed.
But again, you're put in a position where you're not really around these kind of people. Do you know what I mean? And I say these kind of people in a way different to how you were brought up. That's what I'm saying.
Completely different. My family and my job, massively different.
Yeah.
Massively different.
One will never cross paths with the other.
No. I mean, my mother used to say, I hope I never hear you swear. I'm like, you fucking joking. Clueless. And that's good. I didn't want her to know that stuff. Why would, you don't need to know that. Just don't know it. Fair enough. Live in the happy world of
ignorance.
Pretty much.
Ignorance is bliss sometimes.
Yeah. I don't want to share the stories of some of the things that you see and you do and horrific.
Yeah.
That's why it's also, a privilege to be part of somebody's life when they're in those terrible moments of their lives, to share that with people. It's a phenomenal cosmic power, as Disney would say.
I mean, I don't want to kind of glamorize it, and I don't want to go into any stories, because people might be going, oh, let's tell you the stories, let's tell you the worst thing you've ever heard. But let's ask it in a better way. The one that's really stuck with you, there must have been a time that's either changed your thought process or changed the way you've seen society. That one time. That one story.
I think there are a lot. There are a lot of stories, but right early on in my career, there weren't very many female police officers. And so this was like 1990. So I'm still in my probation, and I was at Gateshead, and there's a magistrates court at Gateshead. So the magistrates would do their day, and at the end of the day, whoever they'd sent to jail, the police would transport them to Durham or Low Newton. And it was very rare that you got a woman sent to jail. And this was before Group 4 or whoever it is who does that role now. So the police had a prison van. And this day, I was the only female on duty, and there was a woman sent to jail. And, well, you've got to go with them because there's a woman on the van, have to have a female escort. I was like, really? Why? Like, this is unusual, like, very odd. What's she being sent to jail for? She didn't pay her television licence fine. And I was like, what? She didn't pay her telly licence fine. Now, I didn't know, but TV licence have their own prosecution. So you don't pay your TV licence, you get fined. If you don't pay your fine, you get fined. If you don't pay your fine, you get fined. And if you don't pay that fine, you go to jail. And I was like, really? Really? And I remember the fine was, so we're talking 1990, this is over £400. And you could buy a car for £400. And this woman, we all knew who she was because she was married to a man who used to beat 7 bells out of her every weekend. They had 3 kids. She had no finance. She had no control over the finances in that home. So I imagine what had happened was the TV licence boards had knocked on the door. He'd answered the door. Television licence, mate, you haven't got one. Oh, our lass deals with that. So she comes to the door, she gets her details, and she's the one who gets summoned at court. So she's the one who gets the fine. And he was prepared to let his wife, the mother of his 3 children, go to jail. That was changing for me. That was a big, holy shit, this is what people will do. Domestic abuse.
People stay for a number of reasons, usually out of fear. I get that. And trying to change your life, especially when you're attached to this relationship through children.
100%, yeah.
It's difficult. What are you going to do? Leave the house? Where are you going to
go?
go?
What? Statistically, you're more at risk from being murdered if you leave than if you stay. And that means so are your children.
It blows my mind that this guy would allow that, because he's clearly not going to look after the kids very well, is he?
Well, no, because he didn't look after the kids anyway. But he was prepared to let that happen. So what I did was I refused to get on the van. I always got shouted at. Dear me, I got shouted at. Sergeant, and I was in the inspector's office, get on the van. I'm not getting on the van. Then it was the chief inspector, and I ended up in the superintendent. I mean, back then, an inspector was like God, you were like, oh my God, sir, ma'am, and then a chief inspector, then a superintendent. But what it did was it let the family have time to pull the money together. So her mum and her friends and they brought the money in the police station. So she didn't actually go to jail that day. But what's shocking is 10% of the women who are in jail in England was, and this is Ministry of Justice from 2024 or 2023 statistics, 10% of women in jail at the minute are in because they haven't paid their telly licence fine.
Really?
In jail. 6 or 7 years ago, it was 30%. But 10% of women in jail for that. 30% of convictions of women in England and Wales are television licence. Now, how is that okay? How is that piece of legislation okay? So I always question, like, is what I'm doing, does it have integrity?
Yeah.
Because it might be a piece of legislation that's in place, but it's not right.
Yeah.
And it's not the only piece of legislation that I disagree with.
Yeah. Because you have to do a job you have to do a job with something that you disagree with. You have to go and get this lady or whoever it is and arrest these people and bring them because of a TV license, even though you know the circumstances. So why can't you just butt in and go, look, it's like evidence, A and B. Yeah, but she's got 3 kids. This is worse, taking her away from these kids and leaving these 3 children with this guy.
And the magistrate, because the magistrate sent her to jail.
But surely they should understand. Again, I'm back to common sense. Right? Honestly, I can't get my head around it. I really can't, because it's wrong on every kind of level. There's a kind of, there's your rule book. Just drop kick that thing out the door because it's pointless. It's pointless. This is life.
Yeah.
There is nuance to life.
I was talking at a conference at Acklam Jail in York last month. And no, it was actually this month. Yeah, it was last month. Which is a women's prison. And there's a sewer start building in the prison, which is for kids. The mums there with their kids in prison for not paying a television licence fine. I mean, 90% of them are in for other things, but I can't see the benefit to our society as a whole of sending women to jail for non-violent offences. At the same time, I'm doing the job with the television licence thing. She's going to jail, but then you go and there's a shoplifter at Tesco's and the police are working as loss adjusters for Tesco's. Tesco's make billions of pounds. Put your own security on, pal. Why are the police spending money, make it so people can't pinch things? But they don't let the police, and the police come and interview and they put them in front of the court and the people are buying the pinching cheese.
What's changed over the years that you saw? Were you disillusioned with the police service as well?
No, it was fantastic. I worked with some amazing people.
So
I think the people that I worked with were genuinely. I met 2 people I did 27 years and I met 2 guys who I didn't get on with because they were knobs, basically. But power. And I don't like that. But they were both, fortunately for me, I was working with them for 6 months, both at the same time. So it was only 6 months of my 27-year career that I was working with people that I didn't really like. The rest of them were fantastic. Really good, honest, empathetic, hardworking people. Really hardworking people.
And what have you changed your mind about seeing, obviously, the other side of society, how you were raised as well, because you've been around it majority of the time throughout your 27 years? Does that really kind of change your outlook?
No, I think my integrity, my dad was always big on integrity. So I couldn't have got on that van. I could not have physically got on the van to take her to jail. I wouldn't have. I would have been sacked. But I think integrity is your main thing, isn't it? Like, is this right? Is this fair? Because a lot, you go, and I've seen this, there are 2 types of victim. Certainly, obviously, I work in the field of domestic abuse, and I have seen where a woman, the police have been called to somewhere, and you get 2 kinds of victim. You get the quiet, crying, needing help victim, and you get the woman who's kicking off and really angry and punching, and they do get a different level of service. But I think that's natural because we're naturally going to try and help the person who's crying and the person who's angry. But she has every much just right to be angry. You know, they do get a different service than they shouldn't. Because if it was me, I would be her. I would be the angry one. I would kick back. So that was one of the things that I didn't like. And I did actually literally see it in front of my eyes. And I'm like, no, she, you know, yeah, of course she's angry. She should be angry. Why wouldn't she be angry? But you do get the deserving and the undeserving victim, which is wrong.
Are there any commonalities in traits of domestic violence as well? Is there anything you see that's kind of changing society, or is the same?
I think things have got worse. And I think misogyny starts when boys are really young. And I think, again, you know, you said earlier about access to the internet is really good because we can get our voices out there. But also there's a lot of negative, toxic, horrible, vile stuff on the internet. And I think coming from the perspective of being a parent, I think it's really important that parents look at what their kids are looking at all of the time to make sure that they're not getting access to horrible stuff. And I know when I was in the police, the statistics said that the police in England and Wales received a call about domestic abuse every 60 seconds. And now it's every 30 seconds. And there'll be reasons for that. Everybody's got access to a phone. People feel more at ease phoning the police maybe now. But also, I do think it's more prevalent. I do, because you don't phone 999 for no reason. And I think those every 30 seconds would have been then, but people were frightened to phone 999.
Or didn't have access to phones.
Or didn't have access to phones, so it was there. But victims of abusive people will put things in place to stop that abusive person doing, or if they can't stop the abusive person, they'll put their children somewhere safe while that happens anyway. And then the police don't come.
Yeah. If no one's coming, why would you try? Do you know what I mean? Because most people must have tried, and if no one's going to come and help them, they just feel they're going to be stuck.
Well, people only call because they absolutely desperately need to, or it's a next door neighbour call. I mean, I remember doing a job where it wasn't the next door neighbour. It was actually the woman had called, her husband had come home and he was kicking off. And he was getting arrested and he was kicking off big style. And it was pouring with rain this night. It was like midnight, pouring with rain. So we were all soaked through. And then this taxi pulled up and the guy got out of the taxi who was the next door neighbour. So the guy who was getting arrested shouted for him to help. And this guy, and I was like 7 stone then. And this guy was massive. He was like 25 stone. And he was like a sumo wrestler. And I was trying to stop him get past me while I didn't have a chance. So I was he got past me and I grabbed the back of his belt on his pants and I was water skiing off the back of this man, like, screaming at the top of my voice for one of my colleagues who then came and kind of sideswiped him and took him out. And he got locked up as well. But then when we were talking to him, like in the early hours of the morning, he was like, oh yeah, I'm really sorry. I was drunk and it just all was like a blur. And really apologetic. And then he said, oh yeah, we can hear him on the other side of the wall giving our hiding. I was like, well, why don't you just phone? He's like, what goes on behind closed doors is none of my business. And that's people's attitude, isn't it? And I think that's changed. And I think that might have changed because of the pandemic. Because we were all behind closed doors. Because when we went into lockdown, I was like spiraling, like, if we're all in lockdown, can you imagine as a child when you go to school because that's your sanctuary, but you're told that you can't? So for me, what happened there was horrific. And I don't think that people really understand how horrific that was for victims of abusers in their relationships, especially the kids, because we were all in the house all the time. I'm surprised more people didn't die, actually.
Really? Was there an uptick in calls?
Yeah. But it's like, for me as a child, like kids there's a lot of reporting about kids' mental health problems with our mental health now. And I'm like, well, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. Because can you imagine you're being told you have to stay in, like, with the person? Mind blowing.
Yeah. Yeah, because your respite's going to school and leaving the house every day.
Yeah.
And then something might not happen because you're not around.
Exactly.
And when you're locked up, then the chances have just gone up, plus every single day. And even over a year, it's quite a lot of chances you've got.
It's a lot.
You know?
It's a lot. I mean, I would have been like 50. My youngest son was like 15 at the time. And they were good, the lads. I mean, they've got like this friendship group, and none of them went to school for a year because they made it so like, they're like, my mum's the teacher and she's been in contact. Can I tell them that I spoke to you and we met? So, and they didn't go to school for a year. None of them. There's 6 of them. But if that had been me, I would have been out the bedroom window and down on the beach. I wouldn't have stuck with it at 15. Not a chance.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I think the kids, I think that they complied with those restrictions a lot better than the adults did. Mm-hmm. But I know me at 15 would have been out the window.
Yeah, it's a different story, isn't it? I mean, you got more devices and communication options now, I think.
Yeah, and again, I mean, that's brilliant, isn't it? That's fantastic, but also it's like the toxic side of that as well.
It's a yin and yang of life. I think it's a yin and yang of everything, though. It's kind of, there's an equal good, but there's an equal bad, and I think that does balance out at some point.
You have to find your balance, yeah.
Because it's how you use these things and how you use these things as tools, but also there's a detriment of obviously mental health on the decline because of social media, I think.
I think so. And also when you're 15, it's really hard. So when I was at school, you went to school, if you were bullied in school and then you went home and then it didn't happen again until 9 o'clock the next morning. Whereas now it's 24/7. And you're on the screen. I don't think there's that many photographs of me when I was 15 because you didn't do that then. But now it's like very visual and it's like all this, you know, the whole thing. Having to be perfect all the time. And there's no such thing as perfection. And that's another thing that's sold to us. That's nonsense.
No, there's no such thing as perfection, but the pursuit is real, I think. That's what drives people.
Yeah, and that's what screws people's brains over.
Yeah. What were you like as a kid, though? Were you a happy kid, good childhood and stuff like that?
I'm number 7 of 8 kids. So when my second sister got married, I pretty much lived with her. This was quite chaotic. Lovely family, though. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've got 4 brothers and 3 sisters, and they're all fantastic people. But my mother's got narcissistic personality disorder, so it was very much a divide and conquer. So we were all fighting with each other. And I knew there was something wrong with her, but I didn't know what it was. But I didn't stay there as often as I should have. Like I was, as soon as I had an escape, I did. And I got married at 19.
So that was your escape. You had to kind of find a way out, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you notice that kind of trait? Obviously, clearly as an adult, then you find out what it is now because you know what it is now because you got more information. But as a kid...
Yeah, as a kid, I knew there was something wrong because she's very controlling, like to the point of obsessively controlling. Like where... And I look at her now and it's like, she's almost like a scientific study to watch because I'm like, wow, that's amazing. The way she is. And it is the way she is. So when people say, this person's a narcissist, they're not. They might have narcissistic traits, but when you see narcissistic personality disorder in the real, and it's very rare, it's stunning. It's like, wow. Did she say that? Did she do that? Everything had to be controlled. Everything. And it was mind-blowing. Looking back at it, it's like, wow.
And what kind of things?
Just like literally everything nuts. Like, you know, Dan, that chair's not quite straight. Could you put that straight? Like her entire surroundings, everything has to be under her control. From the salt cellar on the table to the way the cup's sitting on the saucer to the way our kids are, you know, and I wasn't very good at being told what to do.
So there's pushback there with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think by the time I was like 13, I was like, nah, I'm not listening to this. It's just crackers. but I didn't know what it was.
So you've kind of detached from, it's not my mother, this is a woman who just I kind of get on with.
Well, I just can't get on with her. I can't get on with her because I think she's, and I know why. I know why she is the way she is, and I empathise with that child. But as an adult, but I suppose with MPD you can't, like, because it is real. She can't do anything about it, but I can't be in her company unless I absolutely have to be. And because she's horrible, she's horrible to me. She says horrible things to me immediately. Like, we were at a family party last summer and she said something horrible. Like, it's literally immediately I walk in, I must be her trigger. And I don't know why. I couldn't have that conversation with her because I'm not sure she would even know why. And it's like, you know, you have your life and I'll have mine, like, over here. But it is quite scientific now. And I think that's probably put me on the path that I'm on to help understand narcissistic behaviour, because she is a bit spectacular.
Clearly that's come from a bit of nature and nurture on her end, has it? Is it the way she was treated as a kid?
I think she was treated appallingly as a child, and her parents probably would be in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's created her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a knock-on effect to you.
Yeah, and all of us, yeah. But my brothers and sisters, I mean, we're all good, you know, we're nice. I'm surrounded by lovely people. I've got lovely kids, I've got nieces and nephews, all lovely. And we all know. So there's a degree of separation from our mother. And I think sort of it's like, my sister is kind of like a carer. And in my opinion, that sister is the most damaged.
Because she's around.
But going back to childhood, like being undermined constantly and told you're worthless relentlessly, that damages a child.
So why would you care for her then?
Because I guess, I don't know. I don't understand it. But I don't really have anything, I don't really have any contact. I have contact with my other siblings, but I have to stay away from my mother because she brings my mental health down. And and I've got my family to care for. I had to protect my kids from her. I wouldn't leave her in the same room alone with my children when they were small. Absolutely could not do that. I'm not having her damage them. So we don't actually have anything. We have their other grandparents, but I wouldn't give her an opportunity to say something mean to my kid, because I would react a lot more with her being mean to my kid than I would with her being mean to me. Like, if she's mean to me, I don't care. Mm-hmm. But if she's mean to my kid, I care very much. And that's never going to happen.
Does it kind of bother you, Rie, as in sort of you don't have a normal mother? Is there any anger or grief in that?
There's no, because I've had therapy. I've been counselled to the notting. But
so you understand it, and
I'm good with that. But people do in our society say, "Oh, but that's your mother," and I'm like, yeah. Exactly.
You live with that, and you tell me.
And what happened with me was, obviously I had my children, and I'd already taken kind of a step back, but not completely. And then I had my kids, and then I started to understand what motherhood looked like and felt like, and that wasn't it. Mm-hmm. So I then had to process the anger that I felt about it.
Yeah, there's a resentment in there as well, isn't there?
It was rage.
Yeah.
I was like, what on earth? And then I started looking and thinking, yeah, because I did always know there was something. But I felt my initial reaction after becoming a mother was rage. How could you do that to 8 humans? Like, because we're 8 kids, you know.
It's a lot of people to do it to.
It's a lot of people to be cruel to. Mm. And I was like, and then I had to process the rage. So I had counselling, and then I would get more angry as the kids got older. And you know, like you experience, like, for the first time, a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old and then 11, then a 13-year-old. You experience that the first time as a person, as a parent. And you reflect back and you think, and it was rage. So I had to process all that. And now I do have empathy for her because I understand why, but I don't think I can forgive what. So I don't really think about it that much. And so, until somebody says, oh, how can you choose your mother? I'm like, yeah, sadly. But I do think I probably chose her when I came. I think you choose your parents.
Really?
Yeah, because if I hadn't had that, isn't life a set of stepping stones and choices? And, you know, I know about narcissism because it was like in my house. Like I was living with one, like properly. So I understand when people are domestic abusive people. Like, you know, you're not a narcissist, you just got narcissistic tendencies, and some of it, I mean, sometimes we've all got narcissistic tendencies.
Yeah, but it's to understand on the level, isn't it?
You don't act on them. Like, you don't be cruel to people, you don't be nasty to people, you don't belittle people. Yeah. But
that's the thing, we're all carrying something around all the time.
Yeah.
And it's, as long as you don't put it upon somebody else. But it's hard to live with something that somebody's given to you through a not your choice, like your parent put it on you, developed you. Yeah. You're going to be carrying something.
So I have the neural pathways in your brain, and I have this memory come back and I go, oh God, is that still there? You know, like, get that out, you know, do something else. But I think that's a generation, my mother's generation, she was born in 1932. You didn't talk about stuff.
No.
You didn't. You just didn't. And you have this whole stiff upper lip thing, which was cruel. And kids weren't listened to, you know. But now we talk more. Certainly my kids, we talk about everything. But then, strangely, I'll have a room full of parents, and I'll say to them, who finds it difficult to talk about relationships and intimacy with their teenager? And 90% of them will put their hands up. And I'll be like, get over yourself. You've got to have those conversations, because if you don't have those conversations, YouTube will. And you're there to safeguard your children, not to judge them. But it's still people don't talk.
So what's the workaround for that then?
Buy me in, I'll teach you. So they do, I had this deal with the kids, and I would say to them, and of course, this is the only reason I am the way I am is because of the way my parents were with me. So I've learned from what they didn't do as much as from what they did do.
But some people don't learn from it. Really, you know, you can't, you know, when you break the cycle, you've broke the cycle.
Sure.
And I think that's a positive thing.
A lot of people can't, because if you don't know what you don't know, you don't know. So people I'll say to girls, you've got to put boundaries in place. And they don't put boundaries in place because they don't bloody know what boundaries are. They've never come across that. So, you know, I work with young mums, really young mums. And we're talking about girls of 15 who've got kids at school. And it's heartbreaking for me. And they're brilliant mothers, but they've got no ambition because they don't know what ambition is. Mm-hmm. So when people say, well, they've got no ambition, they're going to make anything of themselves, help them make something of themselves, show them what's available. Mm-hmm. Teach them, talk to them. But lots of these girls, their baby daddies are not teenage boys, they're men in their 20s and 30s and sometimes in their 40s. Right. And nobody's talking about that. Teenage boys don't get teenage girls pregnant. Teenage girls are being groomed by grown men who've got cars and money.
That still happens.
More.
I mean, it was always a thing though, really. But when I was at school, every 15, 14-year-old had an older boyfriend or had a car. Do you know what I mean? There was no way you were getting a girlfriend the same age as you.
Not a chance.
Never.
Still the same.
Yeah. Really?
Of course. Buy your phone. Keep an eye on you. Make sure you're safe.
And manipulate, yeah.
Totally, 100%.
Mm-hmm. I'm amazed that still happens.
Of course.
And I thought it was just like young teenage boys having you know what I mean, getting it wrong, you know, no. Uneducated.
No, baby daddies are men.
Yeah. The thing is, you're putting, your identity becomes our mum now, because you haven't built up an identity of who you are.
100%, yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And then that becomes who you are.
I did it, but not long after I published the book, actually, I did a session a support service for young mothers, and there were 20 lasses in the room, and the lady who was running the session said to them, like, switch your phone off. Off. Yeah, switch off, switch it off. So I'm like, all of them switched it off. And then after about 10 minutes, she said, switch it back on again. So they all switched their phone on. All the phones were pinging, ping, ping, message. And the messages were along the lines of, where the fuck are you? What the fuck are you doing? And the building that we're in was a few doors up from a hotel. Why are you in that fucking hotel? Who are you shagging? Those 20 girls, not one of them got a message that said, is everything all right? Phone me. What's happened? I'm worried. Nothing like that. Every single one of them was, look in this, fucking that. Who are you shagging? Da-da-da-da-da. Every one of them. Heartbreaking.
That's unbelievable. Is that just was a test? Is that a normal thing that you do on these sessions?
Well, so no, that was the only time we've done it. But every single one of the 20 girls in there had abusive messages coming through. Not one was of concern.
What's such a short space of time?
10 minutes. Because if you are 15 and you've got your mobile phone, the only person who needs to know where you are is your mum and dad. So if you've got somebody who's like, put this app on your phone because I need to know where you are, I want to keep you safe, it's bullshit. Red flag, run away. Because that's the beginning of controlling. Because controlling at the beginning looks like caring, doesn't it? When somebody's like, if they're talking about their partner and they say, I'm really concerned about their mental health, that's the beginning of manipulating you, because they create a narrative around their victim, and it's about controlling everybody.
I'm always skeptical about people who are over nice as well. And it's probably the same thing.
Yeah.
There's always a kind of, I'm not sure about that because...
Yeah, well, that's a good feeling, isn't it?
Well, it is a good feeling because sometimes you open the door of trust, and for me, you know, I want to get back onto the subject of girls as well, because I think it's a main issue. It's a real big issue, but it's because you've been drawn into that world so many times, and they've let you down, and there's always some kind of nefarious outcome of what they want and manipulating you because you were over nice. So I've opened that door, I've let you in, and now it's all gone wrong. So now the guard goes up straight away.
Yeah.
Why don't they have I know it's boundaries thing, and is that an unhealthy way of shutting the door straight away, and then it's the mistrust straight away, which I have. But is there a way of teaching them that, to not trust straight away? What is it? How do you get through to people, and especially young minds? We
live in a society where relationships are built up online, and text messaging is like constant. And when you first meet somebody, it creates a false intimacy.
It's attention.
It's attention, but if somebody's messaging you all the time and being nice, it creates a relationship that's actually fake. It doesn't exist, but it feels like it does, but it's fake. It's false. You're not that close to that person because you don't know that person really. And when somebody because you don't get into a relationship that becomes abusive, you get into a relationship with somebody who is going to abuse you. Mm-hmm. So you don't know that at the beginning. Like, you don't start seeing somebody because you think, oh, well,
it's exciting.
Yeah, you don't go in thinking they're going to be horrible. But you have to be mindful that this person is an abusive person, even though you don't know it yet. And if they're asking you all these questions, and you do that when you first start going out with somebody, you say, what do you like? What do you do? What's this? Questions. And for them, it's not about finding out about you as a person and what your interests are. It's about finding your vulnerabilities. It's what I would call intelligence gathering. So they can use it down the line against you. Mm-hmm. Because you tell them things, because you've got this false sense of intimacy in this relationship, and you divulge something about yourself that they can use to blackmail you or whatever. So
what's the solution to that one? What's your teaching method to that, I should
I
say?
would say don't get intimate with somebody until you've known them and been seeing them for at least 12 weeks. And I'm talking about adults, I'm not talking about kids. Like, don't get intimate. The problem I have is domestic abuse is age 16 and above. And I'm talking to 14 and 15-year-olds. So don't tell them too much. Don't tell your secrets. Your secrets are for you and your bestie. They're not for the boyfriend or the girlfriend. Just be careful. And the biggest way to tell if somebody's going to be nice or not is when they ask you to do something, say no and see what their reaction is. Because that's a dead giveaway. If somebody's not getting their own way, that's, for younger people.
So your world now, you're working with young people. How do they get to you? How are they signposted to you? And
I've got a Facebook group. And to be fair, I work mostly with parents. I talk mostly with parents.
So they advise the kids to come and see you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got a course for teenagers. I've got a course for survivors of abusive people. And that course, Find Your Voice, is for adults. And it's actually generic. I wrote it with intimate partner abuse in mind, but actually it could be to help you through any abusive person. It could be your brother, it could be your boss, it could be your partner, it could be, when you look at it, it's like, oh, that went really well. Didn't mean to do that. But for kids, it's through their parents. And they can go, because I don't charge for the ABC. It's a self-awareness, self-belief, self-confidence. And I only teach girls because I don't have the level of experience to deal with male victims. So I've got somebody else who I work with, and she works with male victims.
So how did you come about getting to this point of working just with female victims?
Because my experience in the police was all of my victims, bar one, was female, and all of the perpetrators were male. But I know that at that end of the spectrum, the 999 call, murder, death, kill kind of thing, it's predominantly male on female violence. The other end of the spectrum, where I am now, which is at the beginning when relationships are starting, it's a lot more balanced. It's a lot more about manipulation. So you get male and female perpetrators and victims. But I'm talking about the under the radar stuff, the beginning of controlling. It doesn't get anywhere near a criminal offence, but it's learning what to look for at the beginning that will then inform you and say, well, actually, that person is trying to manipulate me. That person is a red flag. Person is trying to control me. That person does want this relationship to move really quickly. Because speed in the relationship, like the love bombing, that's a really big one. So I'll say to parents, you make sure your daughter can't get pregnant, or make sure your son doesn't get somebody pregnant, because girls will get pregnant on purpose as well as boys getting girls pregnant on purpose. So it's like the under the radar stuff that I'm dealing with.
And why are people gravitated, and why do they stay as well? Is it because of the attention? Because they're lacking something in themselves?
I think it's fear. And also, that connection is very hard to break once you've made it. Because if you're dealing with your emotions, that's why I say, like, with adults, like, don't be intimate with somebody straight away, because it does something to your brain. And it's really hard to break that. But then a manipulative person will, so the first thing for me is the speed. When they're trying to get you into a relationship where pregnancy becomes a big thing. But also the isolation. Isolation is a biggie. Even if you look at homicide reviews, that victim's been isolated. And that's a strategy. It's the divide and conquer strategy that we talked about earlier, where you say things like, you're out on a date with your mates. So there's like 4 of you, and you go to the loo, and then you come back, and at the end of the night, he says to you, while you were at the toilet, Katie made a pass at me, your best friend made a pass at me. And like, separates you from your friends. Or it's even inaction, not just action, but inaction as well. I was talking to a lady last week where she said she'd stopped going out with her friends. Like, they go for walks. It's not like they're going on the lash or anything. They go for walks and they do stuff. And she says, stop doing that, because he used to just be moody about it. So he never said anything, but he didn't have to. It was behaviour. And she just went less and less and less, until in the end she wasn't going anywhere with her mates. And all of her time spent he was the only adult that she was hanging out with. So isolation is a killer, really.
And how do you get people to come to you? How do you get people to understand they have an issue? That's really difficult though, isn't it?
A lot of people, we did it, because I'm a director of another kit called Thriving Alone. And we work with women after the marriage and after the relationships ended. And Lynn, who I work with, she put a survey out last month. And the first question was, have you been a victim of domestic abuse? And the second question was, have you been a victim of any of the following? Financial abuse, psychological abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. And 70% of the people answered no to question 1, but answered yes to some of the stuff in question 2. Because people think domestic abuse is physical violence. So people don't recognise that they're being abused because they're not being hit. And I hear that all the time. Who doesn't hit her? Nobody, like that woman who had to go to jail because of the television licence. He did hit her, but financial abuse was massive in that family. And in my experience now, financial abuse is present in every relationship that's abusive. So they don't know what they don't know. So the statistics say, for example, 30% of domestic abuse starts in pregnancy. That can't be right. It can't be. You don't just switch on being an abusive person because your partner's pregnant. Yeah. You don't. There's been a history of under the radar behaviours and manipulation, isolation, stalking, and then it escalates.
Ramps up, doesn't it?
Yeah. So if you're asking people a question, you need them to understand what you're asking. So they should say, this is what domestic abuse is, include all the factors. Have you been a victim of domestic abuse? And they'll find that way before pregnancy ever happened. There's manipulation, there's controlling, there's coercion, all of that. People don't know what you're asking them.
Let's finish on a little bit of advice for people as well, please, Rie. Just anybody out there who obviously needs help, looking for help. From your experience, which is quite extensive, signs to look out for or messaging that you want to give anybody?
Going too fast in the relationship, isolating you from your friends and family, and stalking you. So wanting to know where you are all the time, because you can be stalked while you're in a relationship with somebody. And you don't even know they're watching you. Where you go, what you're spending your money on. So it's speed, isolation, stalking. But there are other things. There's a lot of nuances in that. But those are the 3 main factors. Love bombing is huge.
What is that?
When they're just throwing everything at you at the beginning, making it like a false sense of intimacy right at the beginning of a relationship, being perfect, being overkind, wanting to see you all the time. I had a lady last month, she'd been in 2 previous marriages, both had been with abusers. And she started seeing a guy. And she's like, oh, I don't think I'm going to see him anymore. And I was like, why? What's the matter? Oh, I don't think he's that into me. I was like, hang on, sit down and tell me what's been going on. So she described this guy that she'd been dating, and I was like, because you've only been in abusive relationships before and you've only ever been love bombed, nice guy comes along and you think he's not into you. Give your head a shake.
She doesn't recognise.
She doesn't recognise a healthy relationship. And there must be millions of people like that.
Mm-hmm. But is that on her kind of wanting that?
Because she doesn't know any. She thinks that's what relationship looks like.
This is how everything starts.
That's how it is.
Yeah,
that's how it is. I mean, you see that with women. And the Finding Your Voice course that I've got for survivors, you manage to survive a relationship with this person here. And then this person comes along, and to be quite honest, like anybody looks better than this one because this one was horrible. But this one is just going to love bomb you. And then the next thing you know, you're in a relationship again that is with an abusive person. And then people say things like, oh, she likes the bad lads, or oh, you've done it again. And it's really hard, like talking about getting out of it. If you start in a relationship where he's all singing, all dancing, whistling bell, love flame, twin flames, you know that thing, the twin flame thing? Oh, nonsense. And it's like, he's like full on, and you're telling your friends, you're telling your family, this is the man, this is the guy. Oh my God, he's so good, and he's got everything going for him, and he's wonderful. And then 6 weeks later, something happens, and you think, oh shit, this is not good. It's really difficult to go back to those people and say, actually, I made a mistake. Because those people then go, what, again? 6 weeks ago, you said he was fantastic and he was wonderful, all singing whistles and bells. And it's like what's really important to me is how you react when somebody comes to you and says, I'm in trouble here. How you react is vital for the next step that person then takes. Because it's not about you and judging them. Your job is to listen to that person and let them tell you their story. Because if you shut them down, they'll stay.
Yeah.
Because they can't come back to you. You're the person they've chosen to tell. And if you close them down, even if you raise your eyebrow the wrong way, they're closed down.
I'm intrigued to know, because you just hit on something there which just spurred a question in my head. How many people out there are in relationships which are bad and they know are bad, but they don't want to admit it because they don't want to see themselves as flawed and made a mistake?
Probably a lot. Ego is a big thing, isn't it? And also, you've got a whole culture where women are expected to keep the peace. Somebody said to me, but your children will come from a broken home. And my reply to that was, my home's already broken and it wasn't me who broke it. So I've got to go and make another one for me and my kids. But there's still a massive stigma around it. And there shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I'd rather my kid came home with her clothes in black bags than came home in a black bag. Because that's a reality, isn't it? And if we don't recognise that and support people who come to us and say, I'm having a problem, why are you even that person's friend?
Yeah. It's asking the question, isn't it? Saying it before they say it, or saying it.
There's a lot of women. I mean, when I had the book, I created a private Facebook group, and we would have coffee mornings. So I'll go on a Zoom call or whatever. I think back then you could go on Facebook and open a chat room and you could all be on. And I would always get a call about an hour after that finished. Can I talk to you about this? Can I talk to you about this? Yeah. I've been married for 17 years, and what you've just said, I'm in an abusive relationship. Yeah. I'm like, okay, we had 7 divorces in the first year.
Really? Uh-huh. They wouldn't have actioned that if there wasn't for that group.
But they didn't know, because it's like I say, they don't know what they don't know. And if people want to live in ignorance, then let them live in ignorance, but I certainly wouldn't want to. If I'm unhappy, I'll do something about it. You only get once. Do something safely, though. I never advocate leaving, because it's dangerous.
Do you think people might use it as an excuse to go?
What do you mean?
Oh, well, that justifies. He hasn't been very nice to us. I think we're going to get divorced. I'm going to split the family up just because they think this is an excuse.
It's too hard.
No,
it's too hard. It's far too hard to get to separate. And like you haven't got another house around the corner that you can take your kids to and another bank account with loads of money in. You know, your kids go to that school. It's hard. When I split up from my husband, I literally got a house on the same estate, so the kids went to the same school and could still see their dad. But I had to go back to work full time. I had to take on a side hustle business. You know, I had to do the things. It's hard and it's scary. You don't want that to happen because you're judged. And I think I got to the stage and I was like, well, I can't continue. And if people want to judge me, they're going to have to judge me, but they're not going to be part of my life, so they can bugger off. Yeah. Because I needed to protect my children from the negativity within that home. It was awful.
Right, that's what it was, yeah. You just kind of coming in bad vibes all the time.
That's enough. Yeah. That is enough. I'm gone. And I made a plan.
Okay. Did you share that plan with that other person, the partner?
No, of course not. I couldn't share that plan with that other person. He would have done everything he could to stop me doing that.
Okay. So it wasn't a mutual thing. You sit at the dinner table, you go, right,
No,
okay, this is not happening.
he said it came out of the blue, which is nonsense because he was horrible and consistently horrible. And if you can't recognise as an adult that you're being horrible, what's the matter with you? Like, stop being horrible. So people say, why doesn't she leave? Because it's dangerous and it's scary and it costs a lot of money. But actually nobody ever says, well, why don't they stop doing that? Stop being horrible, stop being abusive, stop saying those things, stop behaving like that.
It's mad that you're around it, but then you're suffering that as well. Is that what kind of feeling do you have on that? It's happening to you, or is it not happening to you? It's happening in a certain way. I'm not saying it's the same thing. I'm just saying that, did you recognise it, even if you're working?
I'll tell you what happened. I ended up in a job working as a domestic violence officer, which usually was a pregnant policewoman, but the pregnant policewoman was poorly. So I ended up getting the job as a domestic violence officer because I was walking past the boss's office at the time the pregnant policewoman rang in, sick. And he called me in, he says, you're going to do this job? And I was like, I'm not. Oh, yes, you are. Oh, no, I'm not. The ultimate pyramid scheme, the police, isn't it? I had to do what I was told. And so I ended up doing a job. And I said to him, I'm not, because it used to be they would contact the victim the day after the call and say, don't worry, pet, it'll all be all right, which is nonsense. And I was like, I'm not doing that. If you want me to do something, I'm not doing that. I want to kick doors in. And he's like, right. I said, what do you want? And he said, this is his words, I want those buggers that phone us every weekend to stop phoning us. And from his perspective, it was about resourcing, because you go into the same houses, because if you're a victim of burglary, it might be once in your life. You get your car pinched maybe once or twice, or damaged once or twice in your life. If you're a victim of domestic abuse, it's every single day. Yeah. So he's like, I want those buggers who phone us every weekend to stop. But the word safeguarding wasn't even invented. So I was like, okay. So I looked at the statistics, and I realised that 70% of the perpetrators of domestic abuse were also committing other crime in the area where I was working. So I was like, right, okay. So I got him to buy me a whiteboard on the wall, and I put a list. And I had like a top 10 hit list to focus on the other crime. Because I figured, if you're in a relationship with an abusive person, the last thing you need is a court case hanging above your head where you're made a statement against this person. I mean, the chaos that causes is phenomenal. And also that person has to be massively brave to do that, because she's then dealing with his parents, his brothers, his sisters, the whole family. Oh, he's going to go to jail, and the kid's dad will be in jail, and it'll be terrible. And like, yeah, but he's twatting all the time. Yeah, guilt trip. Yeah. Let's get him for burglary. Let's get him for robbery. Let's get him for car crime. Yeah. So they did that. And we targeted them for other things and got them remanded. And even if they only got remanded for a week, at least it was a week's respite for her. Yeah, finding other ways around it. Yeah. There's more than one way to skin a cat, isn't there? It's mad that you have to do that though. But I remember the first child protection conference I went to, this guy, I'll never forget him, he was horrible. Like, he was just horrible. And she was like a wisp of a thing. He'd sucked her life out of her. And I had 3 kids. And we even had video coverage of him giving her a good hiding when the kids were sitting. Obviously, from a policing perspective, it's always like the police get involved when it's violence. Whereas like at the minute now, I'm working on the other end where it's like the manipulation, the control, the beginning of the control. Obviously policing, it's mostly the physical stuff. And there was video footage of him. And the kids are sitting, and they're little, like tiny. So I'm in a child protection conference, so social services wanted to take the kids off her. And she had done everything right. Everything. But nobody ever challenged him until I was in that child protection conference, obviously. And I just went through a lot of them. Like, why are you not? There's women who are in that situation that it's like, you've got to hold the family together, but at the same time, you've got to protect the kids. And if you fail to protect the kids, they'll take them off you. But at the same time, they won't support you by taking him out. And I used to hang back when we did it with him because I couldn't bear him. I used to hang back and hope he challenged me because I would have clattered him. I would have done it myself. Because, he was awful. And she lost her children. But not one of those organisations ever challenged him. And he sat in a conference and said, well, she knows which buttons to push. And I was like, are you fucking joking? What do you mean? Like, nobody's challenging this guy. And we all know, and actually the manager in that particular office, social worker's office, asked me if the police could provide them with mobile phones so they could ring 999 because they were frightened of him. And I was like, are you what? Are you joking? Like, but she gets sent home and you want to take her children off her, but your staff are frightened of him, like gruesome. But that's the circumstances that women find themselves in.
It's really hard not to get emotional and get attached and get yourself involved as well.
I just get rage. I'm like, that character in the film when there's like a little girl and she's got like different emotions. Yeah. Have you seen it? I can't remember what it's called. Yeah. And it's like, that's me. I just like rage.
Yeah. But it must be quite hard to kind of keep your professional head as well as like keep your emotions intact as well. Because that's everything. Public facing, business facing, all that kind of stuff. It must be really hard. It must be really tough over the years to do that. Because you just want to help people, don't you?
Mm-hmm. I wish abusive people would just stop doing that. Like, stop it. Like, go and get a hobby. There's lots of things on this planet that you can do, and just go for a run. If you need to burn it off, like, go for a run.
What's the reasons for it, do you think?
Inadequacy. People who feel less, who lack, and people who lack empathy, but also lack, and they have to bring everybody else down with them.